I think the first thing that we have to do, we have to make sure that we actually identify the reason why that survival trap is so strong. I believe that there are actually 5 gaps that make that survival trap very, very strong. Let me explain what they are. The first gap is around trust. The first gap is around trust. When you are in an environment where, again, you have many challenges, it's very, very difficult to trust other people. I mean, if the level of corruption, the institutions, etc. don't work, the chances that you're actually going to trust people actually, the likelihood of trust actually goes down. The second thing is this notion of equity. So again, if I'm in an environment where things are difficult, I'm likely to have a zero-sum mindset. What this means is, I think if you do well, I must be doing poorly. So imagine that you have invested in my business, and I'm looking at returns that I have to pay to you, and in my mind I'm thinking, oh my God, it's taking away all the work from me. What's the likelihood that your investment is going to work, right? That's something that's important. You think about the planning horizon, everything becomes short-term because you have to address the problems that are there today as opposed to thinking about what will happen 5 years from now. You also look to really avoid risk as opposed to taking risk because you think there will be a reward. And you become defensive. So you find someone to blame for all the problems that are there. What really becomes difficult is when those 5 gaps work together, which is the case in most base of the pyramid market. Because when those 5 gaps work together, it becomes very, very difficult for people to prosper and do well. So how do we get out of it? How do we address those gaps, and how do we get out of the survival trap? I believe the first thing that we have to do is to recognize the opportunity that there is in base of the pyramid market. And I think the best way to look at that is to think about the growth rates that you're looking at. If you look at Africa, looking at 4.9%, over the period of 2000 to 2008, Asia is actually 8%. It's even higher. So there is a lot of growth. And you look at the continent of Africa in particular, the trajectory that people have seen is actually very, very good, but it is actually forecasted. There is a report that was done by the McKinsey Global Institute called Lions on the Move, where they tell you that you should look at a combined GDP of about $2.6 trillion for Africa by the year 2020. So that's actually quite a bit that you will see there. If you look at the study done by The Economist in 2011, 6 out of the 12 fastest growing countries in the world are in Africa. And the other ones are also in sort of bottom of the pyramid market. So there is actually quite a bit of growth there. The other thing is that if you look at the level of entrepreneurship, it's actually quite high. I mean, this is a statistic that most people are not aware of. It actually measures what they call the total entrepreneurial activity. What it is, to be specific, is the share of your GDP that is accounted for by businesses that are less than 3 years old, right? If you look at the statistics, actually you're looking at 19.2% for South America, looking at 15.6% for Africa, which is actually much higher than North America and Europe. So there is quite a bit there by way of entrepreneurship. But people will say, yes, but if you look at the type of entrepreneurship you have on the continent, it's not necessarily the type that is really changing societies. A lot of people just go into business because they don't have a choice. And I think that's absolutely true. And a number of those business people are actually what I might call survival business people, i.e., I have nothing else to do. The only way I can eat is if I start a business. But I think there is a new class of entrepreneurs, which is actually, to me, the most exciting thing, that are actually defying that trend.